Welcome back. I'm attorney Thomas Burton. I'm an estate planning and asset protection attorney here in Wisconsin. And today's topic is, what is a pour over will? So, in the estate planning world, you may hear this term pour over will referred to in conjunction with a living trust plan, a revocable living trust. And sometimes my clients will ask me, what is a pour over will? I already have a will, or I have an old will. Why would I need a pour over will? So the short answer is that a pour over will is a regular last will and testament. It's just a term we use to describe what we're using the pour over will to do. So if you have a will-based plan, your will is going to want to dictate all the distribution pattern of all your assets after you're gone. So in the will, it's going to want to say, I want my house to go to child number 1. I want $10,000 to the church. And then I want the rest split between child number 2 and child number 3, or however you set it out, evenly between all 3 children. And you need that in there because we have to say what will happen to your total estate once you're gone. But a pour over will is often used in conjunction with a revocable living trust. So you can see here I have the simple illustration, the Smith Living Trust. And our goal with putting a trust plan together is that we would avoid probate on all assets. Because remember, a will plan by definition must go through probate court upon your death. It becomes a public document filed with the probate court, and it's a public administration, whereas a trust plan is a private administration. So what a pour over will does is it would pour over from the will into the trust upon your death, only if there's some asset that you forgot to retitle into your trust. So I'm going to put up here, bear with me while I draw. This would be the will, let's say. And we have it up here. It's kind of out here on the side. We don't want to necessarily use it, because if we do our planning properly, we're going to have everything placed inside of our trust by retitling it. Like the deed to our home, we will retitle it into the living trust. But the pour over will have simplified language saying, if there's something I own at my death that I did not retitle into my trust or make payable on death into my trust, then I pour it over to be administered by the trustee as named in my trust. That way we can have all the dispositive details of who gets what inside the trust plan. And the pour over will can incorporate those details by reference. So if your trust splits things evenly between the 3 children, the pour over will say, I want the same distribution pattern for any asset that ended up in the will. Now, sometimes people say to me, why do I even need a will? I'm setting all this up to avoid probate. And that is correct, and that's the goal. So with most of my clients, the goal would be that nothing would pass under the pour over will, but I still like to have it in place just in case there's some asset you would inherit before your death, and then you would die quickly without a chance to retitle it into your trust. So for an example, there could be a relative out there who is leaving you a portion of their real estate. Maybe they don't even know they're leaving it to you, but they have no will at all, and you're in the intestate line of succession. So you end up owning, let's say, a 1/5 interest in 80 acres of land in northern Wisconsin from some great uncle you never knew. And you happen to inherit that land on the 1st of the month when his estate is settled and it becomes jointly titled in your name as a tenant in common, which I don't recommend, by the way, but I'm just saying this happens. So you have 1/5 interest, and then unfortunately at the end of the month, you're killed in a car crash. Well, You may have just found out about that real estate and you didn't have time to execute a quitclaim deed into your trust. That would be an example of something that then the pour over will would say, pour it over into my trust and my trustee will administer it. So it's a backup plan that we don't want to have to use, but it's there just in case. So the pour over will is a regular last will and testament, and we sign it in front of two disinterested witnesses. But generally, it's shorter than a will where you're doing a will plan alone, no trust. It would be a shorter will, and it would simply refer back to the trust for the details on how your estate is administered. It will likely also name the same person as trustee of your trust as personal representative under the will, if the will ever needed to be used. So that's the short explanation of a pour over will. Now, are you strictly required to have one with a trust plan? No, you aren't. But for the reason I mentioned, I recommend executing one at the same time you execute your trust, just for that extra peace of mind. We all know life can have twists and turns and things can come up unexpectedly. And even if you meet with your attorney and get everything retitled into the trust or transferred by transfer on death beneficiary designation, to me it just makes sense to have the peace of mind of having a pour over will in place just in case anything gets forgotten outside of the trust. It could pour it over into the trust upon your death. So I hope this explanation is helpful to you of how a pour over will works. If it has been helpful, please consider giving the video a like so that others can see and benefit from this information as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.